So there's two things that happen when you purchase a car and then own a car. And I'm going to get way ahead of myself by showing you this, but when you have a car, it's worth this much money at one point, and then it slowly depreciates over time because it gets beat up, it gets rusty, the engine gets old. Cars don't last forever. That same car, you take out a loan to buy it, and assuming you didn't pay cash for it, and every month you pay off the loan. And eventually, you pay off the loan completely, and you owe no money. This original one here is called the depreciation of a car. It's always going to be worth something, even when it's in a junkyard 30 years after it was put into service and it doesn't even work anymore. It's still worth something because someone might buy the fender, someone might buy the brake light, someone might buy the hubcap, so it's always worth something. So we're going to talk about how fast cars depreciate at first, and then how they kind of level off. That's getting way ahead of myself. So we're going to talk about percent change, which again, I joked about the last lesson, box and whisker being like 7th grade-ish. Percent change is also going back, that far in math. But we just use it to talk about the beginning of depreciation, and then things ramp up a little bit, and we'll have some calculations that'll be a little more intense. But today's objective is to review, obviously, to find the percent change of a situation and how it relates to the depreciation of a car. The percent change formula, just to keep it really simple, is the new number, the more recent number, minus the original number or the older number, and then that difference is divided by that same original number again. So new minus original divided by original. And then if you want to turn it into a percent with anything, you multiply by 100, and that just changes it from a decimal to a percent. So this is interesting, but cars are known as the worst investments that you can make in your life. They are not a good investment. We don't buy a car as an investment. We buy a car because we need it. Like, you have to get from point A to B. It's our society. It's how we get around. We buy cars, but they're almost consumable like food. Like, they only last a certain amount of time, and we pay all that money for it, and we use it up. It has a useful life, and it's gone. On the flip side, like a house, which we'll talk about later, they actually appreciate in value because they last longer than humans do. There's houses that are 100 years old that are in perfectly good condition as long as you keep them up. There aren't very many cars that are 100 years old that still work. So cars are really bad investments. That's not why we buy them. We buy them to use them, not to invest. The reason is depreciation. The value of a brand new car drops dramatically as soon as it's driven off the lot. As soon as you own it and you pull it out onto the main road, it has lost value. It's not new anymore. In fact, new cars depreciate super fast. Used cars have already taken that big hit and they kind of level off. But new cars can depreciate as much as 10 or 20% just in the first year. There are some people that refuse to buy a brand new car because of that. They don't want to pay for that newness, which is so expensive in that first couple of years. So they'll buy like a 2-year-old car and they live by that idea. So here we are down here now. When using the percent change formula for car depreciation, you need to look up the value of the car when it was brand new and then the value of the same car 5 years ago. It's kind of backwards the way we're sort of predicting what it's going to be like in 5 years. I can't tell you, if you bought a brand new Honda Civic right now, I cannot tell you what it's going to be worth in 5 years. We can predict it, we can guess based on 5 years ago to now, but we can't predict the future, so we really don't know. But for the most part, our best bet is to look back 5 years at a Honda Civic from 2016 and see what they cost in 2021, and then use that same percent change over that 5-year period for the future 5 years. So these two values are used to calculate the depreciation of a car over a 5-year time span. To get the average annual depreciation, we would just divide that by 5. So I know we said new minus original up here, but when we're talking about cars, we'll just call it the 5-year-old value, like the 2016 value, like I was saying, minus the 2021 brand new value. And we'll divide that by the brand new value. And again, if we're talking about percent, we would just multiply it by 100, and it would end up as a percent. So go ahead and open up your spreadsheet that we have for today. And it looks like this. And there are 6 comparable sedans, meaning they're all very similar cars. The Honda Civic, the Toyota Corolla, the Hyundai Elantra, Chevy Cruze, Nissan Sentra, and Volkswagen Jetta. It's sort of like Coke and Pepsi. They're very similar products, just made by different companies, and somebody might prefer one over the other. You know, a full-size pickup truck, there's different kinds of those too. Sports cars, there's different kinds of those. SUVs, different kinds of those. So today we'll just talk about these compact sedans. So notice I have the years here. We're going to find out the value of a Honda Civic LX for a 2000 right now of a 2016 model, what a 17 is worth, what an 18 is worth, what a 19 is worth, and a 20. And we'll see how the value obviously goes down the older the car gets. If you were going to buy a used car, the older the car, the cheaper it would be because it's lost value. So that's how we'll predict the best depreciation rates for cars. So where do we go for that? We go to kellybluebook.com. kbb.com. And let's go to price a newer used car. We'll click on this first yellow button, orange button. And we wanted to first go to a 2016 Honda Civic. Because remember, I'm looking for this value right here, 2015 Honda Civic. And the next thing when this pops up, you're going to click Build in Price. And let's click Sedan on all of these today. Scroll down a little bit. And I believe the worksheet wanted LX today. So we will click on LX Sedan. So this one. And then you're going to click Price Without Options. We're not going to get into these different options. We're just going to say price it, the basic car without options. And we're going to leave it, as long as we use the same one every time, I'm just going to leave it on Buy from a Dealer and go ahead and click this button. So the fair market range is right here. The fair purchase price is what we're going to go with right here, $12,104. And if we always use this, then it'll always be apples to apples, right? So the fair purchase price is $12,104. Now we'll do a 2017. But look, you can just go up here and change it right there. So you only had to do that setup one time. $12,442. 2018, $13,455. Then we go back up here and click 2019, $13,555. Not a big difference there, huh? And the 2020, almost new, but now it's a year old, $13,887. Okay, so you can see as the older the car, the less expensive it is. But those are pretty darn close. Those are within a couple $1,000s of each other over 5 years. So the depreciation rate for 5 years is this. Type in our equal sign, and then a parenthesis, and it's the 5-year-old value first, so it's this cell, minus the newest one, the one 5 years later, which is right there. Then we divide that by the new one right here. So we sort of have to do it backwards because we're predicting the future from the past. But B8 minus B4 divided by B4, and we get negative 13%. So Honda lost 13% of its value over that 5-year period. So the annual depreciation rate would be equals this cell, and you're actually going to divide it by 4 because it's really only 4 years of a jump. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 jumps. So it's divided by 4, and it really holds its value quite well. It only lost an average of 3% per year, which Hondas typically do. That's the attraction to buying a Honda. So then what I'll do is, to make the chart, I'm going to highlight all of this. Once that, including the title, then you're going to go to Insert Chart. Insert Chart. And we are going to use a line graph, but what we're going to do is, we see how the years are going up. We kind of want to see it backwards over time. So click Aggregate right here. Aggregate the data, and it'll flip it around. And it'll change it from 2020 down to 2016. So after you've checked Aggregate, I don't need all this white space here. So I'm going to go to Customize, like we did with the box and whisker. I'm going to go to Vertical Axis. And I'm going to go Minimum Value 10,000. And maximum I can leave at 15,000 was fine. So that gives you a better idea of how it's going down. Now you can also, like we talked about yesterday, double click on the white background here, and you can go to Chart Style, change the background, and maybe I'll match the green there. So I'll go click on the blue, and I'll change the blue to green. I like that green better. And then I'm going to make it a lot smaller so it'll fit right down here. So that's how you do everything for the Honda Civic. Remember how I looked up on kbb.com for every year? Go back and watch the video for that. Remember the formula I have here, the formula I have here, and the steps I just gave you for making the chart. Now a little hint for these little formulas here, you could copy that one and paste it there, 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 and there. It'll move the formula over so you don't have to type it each time. You could do it for this one too. But use the steps that I gave you for the Civic, and you're now going to do the research on the Corolla, the Elantra, the Cruze, the Sentra, and the Jetta. Now, if something happens where you can't find all the LEs or all the SEs or all the LSs here, you can change that if you need to. So if you run into a snag where you're missing a value, you can change the trim of the car if you need to. That's fine. So for the rest of today, and due at the end of class tomorrow, is the rest of these 5 cars. And if you need any help, just let us know.